Welcome to the File Management with Folders and Metadata video module. It is part of the 7 Bridges onboarding lesson. While watching the video, please keep in mind 2 key concepts. The first is that files can be managed, they can be copied, they can be moved or put into different folders, just like you would on your computer. And the second is that using file metadata and tags provides several key benefits for your file organization and your analysis. At the end of the video, you should be able to copy or link files from one project to another, filter the Files tab view in multiple different ways, create folders or subfolders, edit a file's metadata, and finally, understand some advanced metadata options that you can use in your analysis. For the demonstration, we're going to do the following. Number 1, customize the File tabs view. Number 2, filter project files based on file metadata. Number 3, link an example.bam file to a new project. We'll then go into the new project and demonstrate that it's there, and then we will edit the metadata of that BAM file. Let's get started. I've switched browser tabs, and as you can see, I'm already logged on to BioData Catalyst powered by 7 Bridges. I'm in a project that I made for this demonstration called variant calling. To manage your files, click on the Files tab, which you'll see on the left side of the project menu. And I've already populated this project with 1000 genomes files. You can see the unlocked 1000 genomes icon here. When you see an icon like this, that means it's coming from one of the data browser hosted NHLBI studies. And the green unlocked icon means that it's open access. If it's a red icon, that would mean that it's a controlled file and you need special permissions to access it. Okay, if you want to know how we got these files in the project, please watch the data browser feature video, which is part of this lesson. So the first thing we want to do is demonstrate folder creation. So on the right side, you can click the new folder button. So let's just give the name of the folder to be 1000 genomes. Okay, and you'll see a pop-up right here. So you can make as many folders as you need, and you can also nest folder structure. Another way to browse through the folders is on here on the left side. And you can see I just have one folder with nothing in it. So what if I wanted to move all the .cram files and all the .crai files? I can do that by using these extension filter options. So there's a lot of options, and this reminds me, let's go ahead and talk about customizing this filter, because that's one of our objectives. Customizing this view. So if we look closely here, we always have the name of the file or folder on the left side. And then you'll see that there's a column for size, which I can sort by. And okay, so here's the actual .cram files, and you can see that they're much larger here. There's a column for notes, and a column for investigation, something for build version, and another one for clinic. That's a custom field I used in another project. But this view is customizable. To do that, you click on the Edit Table Columns icon on the right side, which brings up a list of all the potential columns. Most of these are considered metadata. So as was described before, metadata is tags and information that applies to the particular file, and it could be anything from what study it's coming from to certain types of phenotypic information, but it's really helpful for organizing your files into multiple groups. And a lot of the apps will use the metadata for the analysis. So for instance, for what comes to mind is a tumor normal pair. So you might have one sample, same subject ID, but 2 samples, one being a tumor, one being a normal, if you were doing a tumor normal pair study, for example. And you wouldn't have to rely on a separate manifest or file naming to verify that. You could have metadata that declares that. So there's a whole bunch of these, and you can customize this view for your purposes. So for this demonstration, I'm just going to pick a few options here, like size. Notes I don't see is filled in. By the way, you can add custom notes to any file and have those appear. I see investigations populated, so I'm going to leave that there. A lot of this may not be filled out, but for some of the top mid studies, it is filled out. I know that for sure. Build and clinic we won't use. Study with consent is important for this. What else can we see? Is dbGaP sample ID going to be populated? Nope. Freeze. Freeze will be good for those of you using top med studies. You can see it's not populated here, but I'll leave that open. What else can we have? Consent? No, that one's not populated. SRA? Nope. Sample ID? Yes. Okay, so I think that's good for now. So, but you can customize it for each of your projects to get a view of not only the name on the left side, but certain types of metadata fields that you want to see. So, we see the size, we see the investigation, 1,000 genomes, we see the sample ID. So we have, you can see this, some of these you may recognize. The freeze doesn't apply to 1,000 genomes, but it does apply for the top med studies. And then study with consent. So this is open access. There are several open access studies. In addition, there is the control data will have the consent group. And so you'll need access to that's not only that study, but that specific consent group to access the control data. But these are open data. Okay, so if I wanted to, by the way, to finish up talking about metadata, you could, we'll edit the metadata next, but we can always add a column to search for particular sample IDs. So why don't we do that? So I can just filter for sample, and I can pick a particular sample ID. Oh, it's already here. That's why. So you'll see that here. And then you can pick up. So, you may have more than one file per sample. It looks like just scrolling down here that there's only two per sample, being an index in the CRAM file. In addition, we can do search for investigation. So why don't I do that? Investigation. So I see that I have one file. That's no value. That's the BAM file I added. And then there's over 6,000, 1,000 genomes files. So if I click on that, and then I click select all, what I'm wanting to do is to move these to the 1,000 genomes folder. This will just give us a cleaner view of our files, but it may not be necessary. So if you learn to work with the metadata, you don't necessarily have to have the folder structure or nested folder structure. So we're going to move these to 1,000 genomes. It just depends on how you like to work. So I'll just click on the Files tab to refresh this, and you'll see that everything has been put in the 1,000 genomes folder, with the exception of this NE12878 BAM file. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is, now that we've customized our view, we've filtered our project files based on metadata, let's link this BAM file to a new project. So one of the great things about working on the cloud is that you can have multiple projects, but you could also link data objects to other projects. And as long as you're on the same billing group on the Seven Bridges platform, you're sharing the underlying object. So there's no copying of the data. Moving one or thousands of files is instantaneous. So I'm not actually, you can move it, but I'm going to actually copy it because I want to keep the object in this project and as well as in the new project. So I'm going to copy it to new project, copy. And that just took less than a second. So let's go ahead and look in the new project. So this is just another project I made just for demonstration. And I want to show you something. So um, if you notice, there's an _1 that was prepended here. That's because I previously already copied this file. So this demonstrates another important feature is that these files are immutable, meaning that it doesn't platform tries to keep your data secure as much as possible. So if you do copy something over, it will give it a number at the beginning. Therefore, you won't have copied over your data. Now, because this is the same file object, it's not actually making a duplicate in this case. Let's go ahead and remove this extra copy and delete. So the final thing we're going to do is edit metadata, and there's several ways to do that. So we have sample ID here. That's one of the metadata that you can see. The easiest thing to do is just click on here and click on the metadata tab and click edit metadata, which will bring up this right side menu bar where you can change the sample name. I'll correct the sample name here. You can also specify demographics as well. So you see I corrected that sample name to be NA12878. And you can also change the name too if you need to correct this as well. Let's go back to the Files tab. So you'll see here's the change. I have the names changed here. I corrected the sample ID here. If you do have much more than one file, you have hundreds or thousands of files, you can do bulk metadata changes. So I could select more than one file, click edit metadata, and you'll see that there's different experimental strategies, but let's say this was the same sample ID. I'm going to type in NA12878 -1. I'm going to hit save, and you'll see that that has been propagated amongst these two files. And if you want to get even more sophisticated, you can do what's called export metadata manifest. So you do the ... more actions button, export the metadata manifest in either TSV or CSV, then edit that either using Data Studio or another program on your computer, such as Microsoft Excel, then re-import it, which will give you all the ability to edit lots of the metadata of lots of files in bulk. In addition, it'll allow you to create custom fields, as many custom fields as you need to keep your data organized. So I hope you now understand that metadata does give you a lot more options than simply using folders to keep your data and files organized. One final point. This file object is linked from our previous project. But if I go back to the previous project, you'll see that it has a different name because metadata can be changed in another project and it won't affect anything upstream of that. So something to keep in mind. Now that you have an understanding of working with files in the cloud, here are some key takeaways to remember. The first is that files can be managed. They can be linked from project to project, moved or put into folders, just like on your computer. Using file metadata and tags provides several key benefits for organization and analysis, and metadata especially is highly recommended. Finally, files can be linked to multiple projects. If the Projects are sharing the same building group. There's no increase in storage costs. So link away. This concludes the file management with folders and metadata video. The next suggested video is Public Apps Gallery, where you will learn how to find apps to get started analyzing.